advice that Jack's given today actually is really useful for a person like that, because you are more likely to suffer from worry and anxiety, and you probably do suffer more with sleep-related issues than the common person. And I can speak from experience that I've started to make these changes in my life. The main one, to be honest, again, like the guy in the sleep book said, Jack, the main thing to take away, if you take one thing away from this video, go to bed at the same time and get up at the same time. Alright, assume that the person you're listening to knows something that you don't. Yeah. I mean, this is obviously really good advice for poker coaches to give. Just fucking, you listen to us, mate. You need to assume at least. Even if you don't believe that we know something you don't, you need to assume it.
The coolest thing about this is like the way he says it though in the book. Like when you're reading all, he goes, the way he says this point is really like powerful. He's just like, he almost yells at you. He's like, assume that the person you're listening to knows something that you don't. Like he's like at the listener, right? He's like, assume that the person listening to knows something that you don't, right? So that means like anybody that you're listening to, right? Like that means like if I'm listening to you, if I'm listening to the guy I met on the sidewalk, just assume that that person has something of knowledge that you don't have and that you can learn something from him. This is the main point of this. Like, assume that this guy knows something that you don't, like, that you have a blind spot in. You know, maybe you have a blind spot that you're not aware of, and there's somebody that you're talking to knows something that you don't or you're not aware of.
Kids are a great way to learn that you should do that, by the way. Sometimes kids will ask you a question about something at school or tell you something you're like, I did not know that. Even when they're like 7 or 8 years old, you're like, shit, I did not know that. I'm not as smart as I thought I was. But it's a great point for poker, and the point of poker is this. I had this discussion with someone earlier. We were talking about, even if you're playing like a really bad reg, or like let's say that someone's in your coaching group that you don't necessarily think is a great player and his results aren't that great, it might be the case that there is one part of his game that's really, really good that you're weak in, that he could teach you. So I was saying, when you play a fish reg, he might be really bad at all the common stuff, but maybe he spent like 12 hours studying river probes, and he's like the best river prober, and he can explain why, like, you know, how and why you should play that particular spot. You have something to learn from him, even if you're a better player than he is. And I think that's why 651 for you and I, Jack, why being coaches in 651 has actually improved us so much over the years, is because there's just a lot of people to learn a lot of things from, you know. Like, so frequently in coaching sessions, you know, we're the ones conducting the sessions, but actually someone will say something or provide some evidence for something that I've never even considered, you know, particularly when it comes to fish game. So yeah, that's a pretty good point. It's one that, if you examined it really deeply, would go into sort of stuff about ego. But we'll leave that one there. We'll leave that. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, just one last point for that one, and we'll move on to the next one. There was this one guy I was watching on YouTube, really wealthy guy, and you know he was kind of like talking about something like this as well, like where he's like, you can literally learn something from everybody. And he was like I forgot the exact context of this, so I'm gonna generalize it because I don't remember the exact wording or the exact scenario, but it was something like the guy was in a jacuzzi, like talking to one of his buddies, and he was just really upset, like something was bothering him, like he had a bad day, whatever it may be, and like the janitor or one of the security people gave him some advice or something, like told him something along the lines of like, if everything is going wrong for you in life, if everything's going wrong for you yourself, like you're having a bad day, you're having a bad week, whatever it may be, do something for somebody else. You know, just do something selfless for somebody else, and it really cheers you up. And it's funny, like I've done this a couple of times in my life, and like it actually works really well. Where it's just like if things are like you're having a really bad day or something, just having a bad week, bad month, whatever it may be, just do something. Literally, just do something for someone else, like something kind. Just do a couple of acts of kindness, and see the joy you bring to some other person's face, and you just start to feel just a lot better instantly. Like I challenge anybody that's watching this to try this out. really try this out. And the main point is like that this random janitor gave like this multi-millionaire some advice that was really good. He gave him some really good advice, and so that goes to the point of like even if somebody's like a bad poker player, like sometimes people, have some really good advice, some really good golden nuggets of advice that you may not know.
Yeah. Wisdom and wealth are not necessarily connected.
Yeah, or like sometimes that $5 poker player can give you some family advice that you might not have been aware of, or maybe he might give you some advice on your emotions or anything. It doesn't have to be a poker, like it could be anything, right?
100%.
We always just assume like the person that we're talking to knows something that we're not aware of, and knows something that we don't, so we can listen with open ears.
Yeah, and I was just gonna say, just be open with it.
Yeah.
Like have that growth mindset, not that fixed mindset. All right, cool. Final point. So we're almost keeping this within half an hour.
45 minutes?
We're pretty close. Aim to be the person at your father's funeral that everyone in their grief and misery can rely on. Strength in the face of adversity, that is very different than the wish for a life free of trouble. It's so funny that you've written this one because I often think about trying to be this person, and my dad is that guy. And like, what reminds me of it is because at like my grandmother's funeral, he did like a eulogy, and then everybody was kind of relying on him, to for their outpouring of grief, that he could make them feel better. He was always that guy that no matter, like, even if he was the victim of something, he was still the person that was making other people feel better. I've never quite been able to be that guy, and I'm a lot more emotionally fragile than my dad, but I at least try. That's like one thing that I do think about sometimes, is I try and be that guy. Like, if everything was going wrong, would anyone turn to me for help? And that I try and modify my behaviour. This is something that's really difficult, and I think it takes decades of practice, to be honest, and a lot of wisdom.
Hard, but you're doing it already without even realizing it for poker players. When people have a bad run, I see you in the chats coming in there, and like you're kind of that guy that's just like, that people are relying on to give them strength. And like, you know what, like you're gonna get through this, this and that. So you already bring that strength there, even without even sometimes realizing it.
Yeah, it's funny because it doesn't feel like it comes from a position of strength. It just feels like empathy. But
empathy. That is your strength.
Maybe.
If you can empathize with people, like let's say you're at your father's funeral and somebody comes to you for empathy, that's already strength, right? They're like, Scott, I'm feeling this kind of way. Like, you know what? I understand. This and that. That's what he's talking about here. They're looking to you. They'll say everyone in their grief and misery can rely on. So they're relying on you to give them like empathy. And instead of like them having to give you empathy, you're the one giving the empathy. So that's like that's kind of where this point is going. And this is a powerful point here. And one thing I will say, like, there's a lot of powerful points in this book beyond what I wrote in here. There was a couple of moments in the book. Jordan Peterson is actually reading the book himself in this audiobook, which is actually really cool. Not a lot of people.
Wow. That's really rare.
Yeah, it is rare.
Really rare.
The one actually reading the book in the audiobook. And he's reading it, and a couple of times in the book, if you listen closely, which is like really raw, like he begins to cry in a couple of he begins to cry. Like you can tell his voice changes big time, and he's like fighting back tears.
Choking up.
Yeah, he's choking up on a couple of different occasions because he's telling like some life stories, some very personal stories about himself and some of his friends, and he starts choking up twice, and then he stops because like the way they record the audiobooks, they record like 1 hour at a time. When he starts choking up, he probably notices it. He finishes the next few sentences, and he puts it on pause, and then he continues a little later. But he starts choking up, so it's really raw and authentic, and I really enjoy that part of it.
That's amazing. That's one of the things I don't like is when the narrator gets really passionate, but they're not the person who wrote the book. It feels disingenuous to me.
Yeah. I like it when the person that writes the book reads it, and like David Goggins his own book. So Jordan Peterson reads his own book, but then towards the end of the book, this is the main point. Like at the end, where I just found that it's just so powerful. Aim to be the person at your father's funeral that everyone's in grief. So that is very different than the wish for a life free of trouble. So, I mean, basically what he's saying is that some people go through life wishing that bad things never happened, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people do. Almost everyone does, to be quite fair, right? I mean, we're all just hoping bad things don't happen. But Jordan Peterson is saying is like, obviously hope bad things don't happen, but if they do happen, make it your goal to be the guy that's going to be the strength in that scenario, which is a very difficult thing to do.
Mm.
But it's a very powerful, you know, position to be in as well. Like I don't do so well with that kind of stuff either. Like um, it's difficult for me, you know, to deal with like really strong adversities. But yeah, that's the aim, you know, that's the aim, just to kind of get better at dealing with.
I find it a lot easier to help other people with their adversity than I do my own.
Yeah.
Maybe my dad's the same and he just doesn't say it. You know, my dad's pretty good at helping grieving people, or like he can be really empathetic sometimes. And like, you know, that exact example at the funeral, my dad would be someone who was really strong and people would feel like they can rely on, but I don't know what's going on inside, and I don't know the adversity he faces and how he deals with it. Because me personally, I find it difficult to deal with my own problems.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to hide what's going on the inside, you know, like it's difficult. Like
he's quite a stoic fella though. He can like, you can tell when something's not quite right, but he's he's good at hiding. He's a bit of a cat in that sense. He's good at hiding.
I feel like I'm good at hiding sometimes my emotions too. But like, if something strikes me in a certain type of way, it's going to be difficult. It's going to be very difficult for me to hide it. Like one thing that comes to mind is I remember my grandmother's. I think it was my grandmother's funeral or my grandfather's funeral. I was like trying not to cry, but it was just so obvious that it was just bursting out. But I was trying not to, you know, I was really, really trying not to, but it was just, I couldn't stop it.
Yeah.
At all. And like for the most part in life, like I'm pretty stoic.
Yeah.
I can do that. I can, you know, be neutral when I want to be, but you know, certain things, you know, rub you the wrong way. It's really difficult.
For me, death, like, probably I was going to say probably especially with pets for me, like we did a little burial for our family cat that died 5 years ago, me, Duck and the kids, and I was just like burying this cat, doing the funeral, just crying my eyes out, trying my best not to cry in front of the kids, because I don't want to cry in front of two little girls, just like bawling my eyes out, uncontrollably, can't help it, cannot help it. That's just one facet of my personality. I've always thought to myself, I'd love to be one of those people who doesn't cry when people or pets die, and they just, like, you know, firm it and get on with it, but I can't.
I do, yeah. I don't know, man. I do a lot of crying myself. Like I cry a lot in movies and stuff. Like I don't know if it's normal. You know, the amount of crying.
I'm a crier, man.
With people in the movie theater and stuff. Like I am desperately trying to hold it back, but it's like it's really difficult for me. Like I don't know what it is. Like I just get involved into things and like I just cry like a baby, man. Like if I'm by myself watching like a sad movie, it's unstoppable.
You know what?
I can't stop. I just cannot stop.
We could go on for hours and hours about this. It might be something to do, like, it's honestly, it's probably traced back to like the Dolphin chronotype, because I feel the same way. It's probably because people like us, with these, you know, this personality type, very sensitive, quite neurotic and anxious as well. It's like, people like you and I, maybe you and I, for example, when it comes to death, maybe you and I worry more than the average person about what comes after death, you know, or like...
I used to worry a ton about that topic. I used to not want to talk about it or even mention it. Like even talking about it would make me so anxious. And now, like, I try to force myself to talk about every topic and not try to hide, you know, things. And I kind of want to bring up every topic, and like I almost do it on purpose sometimes to kind of you know, test myself. But in the past, I remember many years ago, whenever talking about death or funerals, like it would just like I was just like, God, I don't want to talk about this topic at all. Like I would try to run away from it. So I'm glad at least I can, you know, cross that bridge and be like, all right, I can talk about that topic openly now.
Scares the fuck out of me, man. Like, really does. I mean, especially when my anxiety is bad. Like when I'm hungover, always, I don't know what it is. When I'm hungover, my anxiety goes to 11. Like my anxiety when I'm hungover is just outrageous, to the point that I barely drink anymore because of it. But like, I get this massive fear of death. that I'm gonna die or that someone around me is gonna die, and I just like start panicking about it. It's completely irrational.
But it's good to talk about it too. Like it shows that you're comfortable at least talking about it somewhat. It might change your mood. Like if you notice how you're feeling right now, you might feel a little bit different than you did like 20 minutes ago. But it's good. It's good to actually mention it and talk about it. Like it's good because the more you avoid it, like if you avoid the topic, I find that like it's even worse. It's way worse because then when it
it's
comes,
much better.
You're like,
it's okay within 651. Like I feel like the 651's a comfortable place to do it. Like with you and like the other guys in the 651 because we're all. I think just people end up being quite similar personalities within poker teams. To be honest, you know, I think that's why poker players do. A lot of poker players are very similar people. They're much more likely to be similar in terms of their characteristics and the way that they behave. Because I think that the things that draw you towards this game, I think certain personality types are more drawn towards something like poker, you know?
Yeah.
Like a lot of my friends are like jealous of the flexibility of my job, for example, right?
It is amazing though, to be fair.
Yeah, they're like, oh, that's really cool. Like, you know, that you have the freedom and you just like kind of get to play a game and it pays okay, blah, 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 blah. But they don't have like the personality trait. They're not drawn towards it even still. So like when I found out people were making money doing this, I was like, I fucking need in on this.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Like I have to do this. Like this is just absurd. How are people doing this? Like, I'm going to do everything that it takes to make that me. And my friends are like, oh, what a sick life, man. Like, and that's the end of it. You know, one of them's like a taxi driver, and he just doesn't. He plays poker for fun. He he'll play spins and stuff for fun. But and I started like he was messaging me during lockdown because he couldn't work and was like, oh, I'm going to go play on Stars, and he was playing like $5 spins, and I was giving him a few tips, like a few little bits of advice, and he'd ask me a couple of questions, but he never asked me for like a coaching video or like where to start or starting ranges or a website he could go to. He doesn't want to involve any kind of like strategic approach to get better.
No.
Even though he knows that like, you know, if he were to work really hard, that he could do this as a profession. He just like doesn't have that character type. He doesn't have that drive towards it, you know?
The character type is the key word, I think, because there's a lot of people like this because like they like the idea in theory, playing poker, making your own hours, everything sounds cool. But for some people, especially with our type, personality type, when you have the relationship personality type, these people need to be around humans. They cannot sit behind a computer for 10 hours and play poker. It just drives them crazy. You know, they need to be out in an office with coworkers and talking to humans. Otherwise, they're going to go crazy. You know, like, and I started noticing that more and more throughout the last years of my life. Where
that's why I'm not joking. That's such a good thing about being in a stable. You know?
Yeah, there's community. There's humans. Yeah. You get the human connection and you get to connect with people. But even then, like some people still wouldn't be able to do it. But those people aren't in poker right now. These people are like, they would be miserable playing poker because they're such a strong R-type personality. And, you know, one person that comes to mind that's a very strong R-type personality actually is Mr. Kyle. You know, Kyle McGuire. He's very R-type. Like, these are people that are, like, very active on social media. They love going out with friends. Like, they're like, very, very social creatures in their core. Like, they need to be around people. They love being around people. They like talking to people. Even while they're grinding, they just want to talk to someone that's next to them. They just want to talk all the time. And they want to connect with you. And this personality type has a very difficult time with poker because with poker, you're in isolation. You're sitting at home. You're in front of a computer for 8 to 10 hours a day, 12 hours a day. And for that kind of personality type, it just doesn't work.
The best example is in the solver. Like I was on Lucid 2 days ago, and my stepdaughter was trying to talk to me, and I'm like trying to figure out why a certain hand was like probing a turn because it made no sense to me, and she's trying to talk to me, and I'm just like in the politest way possible, I'm like, I just need to be left alone here. Like I don't want anyone to talk to me, or like I want no distractions whatsoever. And I know that like that kind of lifestyle is just not for a lot of people because like that's not 10-15 minutes, that's like hours and hours and hours, like hundreds of hours of living your life like that in complete like concentration and isolation. like I'm a social person, but I want to be left alone. And this is another thing about the dolphin thing, Jack. By the way, they don't work well in groups. I do okay in coaching sessions, like group coaching sessions and stuff like that. But when I'm studying, I need to be left the fuck alone. Or when I'm grinding.
I could not agree with that more. Like if I'm the dolphin, then I'm the dolphin, man. I don't like to be bothered, man. Like even when I'm grinding, I don't care about studying. Even when I'm grinding, I remember I lived with Jason and his ex-girlfriend, Arthi. They already knew, like, I don't want to hear not one word, not a single sentence, going towards me while I'm in games or while I'm playing. They know, like, I put my sunglasses on, my grinding sunglasses on. When those sunglasses are on, like, it was just a known thing, like, don't speak to Jack. Like, I don't want to speak to anyone. I don't want to look at. Same thing when I'm studying. Like, I prefer that alone time as well. But I also have a strong like desire and wants to like socialize too. Like I love to socialize as well. Like I absolutely love having nights out with friends, like watching UFC or just shooting the shit, just doing anything. I absolutely love that time.
That's my favorite thing to do.
Very much appreciate that, my alone time where I'm just like, let me be free to do whatever the hell I want, and let me just let me.
I'll tell you another great example, Jack, by the way, about the Dolphin personality types and what we've just said there. And I think a lot of poker players are the same. Even though we work together a lot and we share our findings, the example was like, for example, when you're at school or college and you had a group project, were you the type of player, type of person that you wanted to do your bit and be left alone to do your bit, or even do everything? Or were you the type of person that just wanted to sit there and like continuously work as a team? Because for me, always I was just like, give me my bit, or like give me the bits that you don't want to do, and leave me alone to do it, and don't bother me while I do it. And I do not want to work in a team. And as a good example, I had quite a few people when I was making the GTO gym videos originally. Quite a few people were like, look, I'd like to jump on board with you and make these videos with you. A couple of times I did it, but I mostly turned people away because I was like, I just need to be left alone to figure this out for myself.
Yeah, you know what I mean? I'm definitely on that boat. And
I'm a very social person. It's weird because I'm an extroverted person, but when it comes to stuff like that, I'm just like, let me just like leave me be. Let me do this at my own pace and don't interrupt me.
I love that part of it too. Like when I love socializing with entertainment, but when it comes to actually getting things done, like whether it goes studying poker or playing poker or like just getting something done, I want to be left alone so I can just focus and do my thing.
I guarantee so many people watching this, by the way, are just going to be like, I'm that type of person, because I'm pretty sure
the top poker players are that way. You know, that's how you kind of get into your zone. You put your kind of laser focus on. You go into your study mode and you just like block everything out. Like, don't talk to me, leave me alone, and let me do my thing. And I think that's a very natural thing for poker players. Like most poker players are dolphins. Some of them are happy dolphins, but most of them are probably those dolphins. So,
like being a dolphin doesn't exclude you from being happy. It just makes you more neurotic and anxious, and you're the type like an overthinker seems to be like. And I know this sounds ridiculous, me saying if you're a dolphin, like I'm not a very spiritual person at all, and I don't tend to believe in these types of things. But I was pretty astounded when I did the test to see which chronotype I was, and then when the sleep doctor described what the personality type of a dolphin is, I was just like, I tick almost every single box there. It was really
dolphin
quite reliable
too, right? Like
sorry.
Like you can in theory be like a little bit dolphin, a little bit something.
Well, it's going to be like a Venn diagram. It's going to be like there's overlaps, and you're more in one of them than the other one. But for me, it was
of myself as a dolphin, but
yeah. I'm interested when
I'm not socializing. I don't feel much like a dolphin. Like
but that's the thing. It again, like the whole dolphin thing. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're introverted. It didn't say anything about you being an introvert or you're not good in social situations.
To be fair, I mean.
Yeah, but you're good at social situations. You're not like socially awkward.
No. I mean,
you don't shy away.
Extroverted. Like improv class is like the most extroverted thing I can ever think of. And in
without doubt.
phase of my life, I like turn on the extrovert switch, and I just and be an extrovert monster. But for the most part, like 95% of my life is very introverted. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think most people end up like most people watching this will be the same as us in terms of personality type, because I think it's the personality type that's most driven towards something like making a living from poker, and B, I think it's one of the only personality types, or the one that's most likely to survive in this environment. Yeah. Because people get bored of poker, they get bored of learning and just give up, or they just get too isolated, and it is isolating.
It is
isolating. It's a lonely job.
Lonely, yeah. It can get very lonely, and a lot of these other personality types probably are not going to be able to deal with the loneliness, and just be able to fight through that and just kind of get through it, because it is tough. I mean, shit, it's difficult, you know.
There's a reason they say the hardest way to make an easy living.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's like, it's a good way to make a living. It's flexible. The money's decent in most cases if you put enough work in. But to get to this position is fucking so tough. You think about everything that brought you to this point.
The emotional, like, you know, there was a documentary. I don't know if you've seen it. Actual documentary, old one. I forgot the name of it now off the top of my head. But it was a documentary on a couple of poker players, and you know, one of the poker players was saying like, he thinks poker like could be the most stressful job out there. He's like, I don't have any other job to compare it to, but he's like, it's right up.
Andrew Roble? Is it Andrew Roble?
Andrew Roble, yeah. You remember that?
From Busto to Robusto.
Busto to Robusto. I watched that episode with him, and the other episode with the other guy, like the
Andrew Feldman, was it?
No,
that was the BBC one, actually. That was Luke Schwartz and Andrew Feldman. It was Roble and...
that thought the world was ending, and he was having anxiety attacks, panic attacks, going to the hospital.
Oh, Mr. Zebo or something.
Mr. Zebo.
On Full Tilt. Yeah, for sure.
I watched both those documentaries like 100 times over. And I remember...
He met Phil Galfond, and he was like super excited, like a fanboy, wasn't he?
Yes.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Very old documentary.
That was one of the, like, I watched that documentary and I remember thinking, like, watching Roble and being like, I swear if that guy could do it, I could do it.
Yeah. And, like, his lifestyle was, like, so cool. And, like, but he did mention in that documentary, he's like, it's one of the most stressful, you know, job, like it's less stressful for us, but I can imagine for, like, the high-stakes cash game players or the high-stakes MPT players, the guys that are playing high-stakes cash and MPTs, or even high-stakes, like, anything high-stakes, like, it's very stressful. It's a very stressful job. So, like, a lot of people from the outside might look at it like, oh, it's a walk in the park. These guys are just printing money. It looks like, oh, it's all happy days. But there are some very, very difficult days that you have to get through, and the emotional roller coaster.
Honestly, I often think about that.
Underrated.
I often think about that. That documentary, Jack. He says at the end, because he's getting crushed heads up by that Mr. X.
Yes.
And it's making him miserable. And he has that girlfriend who obviously is the biggest gold digger ever.
Absolutely. He knows that too. He knew that too.
Yeah. It's sort of implied that he's aware of it. And he says, like, you know, I have all this money and I live this glamorous life in Vegas, but, like, am I any happier than a monk? And he's like, probably not, right?
Contemplates it. Like all the jets, the champagne, like, or being a monk and like having a good relationship with like family and friends, and he's not sure. He's like, which one? And I think a lot of us kind of are on that same boat as well, or we're just like, I don't know, you know.
It's funny because when I watched it, I was like, dude, fuck that, sick life. I want to do what you do. Like,
that's what I was thinking.
But
I watched that
after a few years,
and I was like, wow. I was like, this is it. This is the life, man. In Vegas.
Yeah.
She with these hot girls, you know, I was like, this is it, you know, that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
everything just made sense to me, you know. And
it's funny, now it's been a few years, looking back, like with the hindsight that he had, I do love this job, and it's not as stressful as the high stakes, and I wouldn't swap this for the fucking world. I would never be a monk. But you understand where he's coming from.
Yeah.
The stress, the like you said, the emotional swings, the isolation.
Mm-hmm.
Even with my friends who don't play poker, like, I was much better connected to them. I will admit, I was much better connected to them before as a professional poker player, because I had a job and I had an office. And I would say, oh, you know, Dave in the office said something funny, or like, oh, I was out at work the other day and this happened and this happened. I've got nothing to talk to them about work. They're like, how's work? I'm like, yeah. Oh, you should have seen this fucking cooler I put on this Redfish the other day. You know, I've got no common ground with them in terms of work. It's like, hey, yeah, I sat at my desk for 9 hours. And,
that's the weird part about it, because then, like, you start to think, like, you know, when I go back home and hang out with my friends, like, yeah, we connect, but it's not the same way we connected, like, you know, 10 years ago probably. Like, we still connect in a very strong way, but it's like their lives are so different, you know, fundamentally.
It's like they live in the real world.
they're so different, right? They're so fundamentally different that it's a little bit more difficult to connect with them in that way. But then now you connect really hard with like poker players. You know, you have like a group vacation with like poker players. You guys are just like, you know, yapping away about like emotional swings, lifestyle, mindset. You're just like yapping.
Not even that, just vocabulary.
It's just everything makes sense. Everything makes sense.
Just like talking about like being on like a life downswing, like, you know, or like, you know, the waiter brings you the wrong food, you're like, oh, what a fucking beat, or like, oh, that's super tilting. Like, I say tilting like everybody says tilting.
Yeah.
My kids use the word tilting. Like, we say, like, you know, if one of my kids gets angry about something, I'm like, why are you getting so tilted about it? And they use that as well. That connection, like, I don't have that with my friends, where I'll say something and they don't know what I mean. Or it's funny as well, because before, as a professional poker player, I thought, like, if I become a pro poker player, I'm going to be so proud of it. Like, I'm going to be like, yeah, dude, I'm a pro poker player. Like what a cool job. And then when you actually do it, you realise, like, you actually want to talk about it zero with your friends.
No.
And they ask you the same inane questions, and you're just like, dude, I don't want to talk.
When they bring it up, I instantly change the topic, because like you have fun talking poker with your poker guys and stuff, but like you don't want to branch that out to your other friends, because like it's just, what's the point? I'd rather talk about anything else.
But yeah, that's the conclusion of that. That's why a lot of you watching this, I know that we veered off topic. Me and Jack love to do this, man. We love these. We would do this for 11 hours if we could. I promise. Like, today's an hour, and then we're going to start. I think we'll bring it down gradually, Jack. Cutting down from like 90 minutes to half an hour was always going to be a tough task.
Yeah,
but
half an hour, 45 minutes. We'll probably get to. I think a sweet spot is like 45 minutes. I think, like, to be fair.
Same.
Always under that 1 hour mark. So with that said, why don't we?
Yeah. So we'll wrap it here. The last 20 minutes, to summarise the last 20 minutes, what we're saying is that I'm in no doubt that like probably 80 to 90% of people will feel exactly the same way that Jack and I do. They'll have the same relationship with their friends. They feel the same way that we do about poker compared to when they started their career, blah, 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 blah. And what we were getting about is just like this personality type, that if you're this person, you probably are this certain personality type, and you are likely to be more anxious and more neurotic, and the type of person that thinks very deeply about all of these types of things. And this advice that Jack's given today actually is really useful for a person like that, because you are more likely to suffer from worry and anxiety, and you probably do suffer more with sleep-related issues than the common person. And I can speak from experience that I've started to make these changes in my life. The main one, to be honest, again, like the guy in the sleep book said, Jack, the main thing to take away, if you take one thing away from this video, go to bed at the same time and get up at the same time. That is the number one here, I think. It's just such a crucial thing for organising your life. In terms of the other stuff was really good advice. But I would say that was the more important one. And the last point is a really good one as well, is that I do this, and I think it's a pretty good thing to do, is just spend time thinking about the person that you really want to be. So think about like a person that you know, that you really respect, that you know you can turn to, and that you feel like amongst your group of friends, for example, or in your family, that everybody turns to this person because they know they can be relied upon. You're an analytical person. If you're watching this video, without doubt, you're an analytical person. Analyze what that person does and how they behave, and start to analyze how you can apply that to your own life. And by becoming that person, by attempting to be someone that people can rely on, you will become that person, and it will increase your mental strength. You will become strong by behaving in a strong way. Do you see what I'm saying there with that, Jack?
100%.